This is part 2 of making some mead at home. If you did not see part 1, I will put a link in the description down below. And you can go look at that. It gives all the ingredients and how to get started making mead. So check my notes here. Okay, so I pitched the yeast, that is, started the mead 70 days ago. Okay, so that episode begins 70 days ago. I racked it, which is to say I siphoned off the mead from the yeast that had settled out to the bottom, going dormant when it was done fermenting. And so that, by siphoning it off into another vessel and letting it sit, that gives it time to clarify and mature without picking up off flavors from the yeast. And in our case, there were also some raisins in that original must that may eventually give off flavors. So, so that was 38 days ago. Okay, so today I'm going to bottle the mead. This mead is a little over 2 months and a week old or so, which is young for a mead. Okay, so I will give it a little taste later. I'm not expecting it to be spectacular at this point because everything I've learned about mead is that it takes quite some time to mature after you make it. I calculated the ABV, or alcohol by volume, when I racked it. It was done fermenting at that point, and it's about 10.5% alcohol. Okay, so it's honey wine. Okay, so like I said, it's been racked and it's been sitting for 38 days, about a month and a week, to sort of age and mature. It's still not real clear. Sometimes the mead will get clear and sometimes it won't. It could clarify some more in the bottles, but I'll bottle it and then put the bottles down in my cellar and let them hang out and age some. Okay, so let's get started. Okay. So we're going to siphon the mead into the bottles. This is an Autosiphon, which has like a little pump in it, like a bicycle pump, to get the siphon started. And then at the other end we have a bottling wand, which has a little stem valve at the top. Okay, so when you put that into the bottle, the liquid won't flow until you push down to the bottom of the bottle, and then the liquid will flow. And then when you lift it up to take it out of the bottle, it stops the flow so that you don't spill what you're siphoning all over the place. Okay, so we'll get a bottle. We'll get that off of there. Okay. Put that into the bottle. And get that down somewhat. And I have to hold this down in the bottle to activate the stem valve so that I can get the siphon started. This is tricky with one hand. There we go. So You fill it almost to the top, because when you pull the wand out, the wand displaces some of the liquid, and that'll leave a nice air gap at the top. I mean, you don't want too much air at the top, but you want a little bit. Okay. A little more out. It looks like this has got some carbonation, so we will probably want to degas this once I get it in the bottles. And that's just a matter of agitating it and loosening the cap repeatedly until there's no more carbon dioxide released. All of these bottles and all of this equipment have been sanitized so as not to contaminate the brew at all. You can buy sanitizing liquid. I've been brewing long enough that I'm old school and I use a homemade sanitizing solution, which is 2 teaspoons of chlorine bleach per gallon of water, and that's extremely effective. It doesn't take much chlorine to kill bacteria, and that solution will kill any bacteria, viruses, fungi, mold within a few seconds of coming in contact with it. But chlorine is also very, very volatile, so I know that it has evaporated out of the equipment in the bottles long before the water has evaporated, so it's safe, and it doesn't impart any off flavors. Our siphon stopped, but hopefully we can get it going. Yeah, this is difficult working alone here. Just have to carefully pour that off of the funnel because we're not getting the siphon started. So that's the bottling process. Like I said, there's some CO2 in here, so we can let that off gas. Carbon dioxide is heavier than air, so if you keep the bottle upright as the gas comes out, oxygen won't get in and spoil it. So we'll just degas that. Let those sit with them loose. And that's the process of bottling. So I've got more things fermenting in my little fermenting room there. So we have some Niagara wine fermenting and a few other surprises. So there will be other videos in the future. And so have a nice day. It's been just over 3 weeks since I bottled the mead and filmed this episode. So that makes it almost exactly 3 months since I pitched the yeast and started the process of fermenting the mead. So I thought before I wrapped it up, I would take this opportunity to taste it and see how it came, since it's been a long, long time since I've made mead. And so open that up. Pour out a taste. Okay, it's still a little bit cloudy, but it's got a nice honey color to it, which is good. So I don't mind that it's a little cloudy. It has a honey scent, but also almost a little herbal, and a little bit of citrus, which I suppose is to be expected since we put some spiced tea into the mead. That's very tasty. It's chilled. I think a mead tastes better chilled. That's very, very good. It's not sweet. It did ferment all the way dry, but the flavor of honey, because we're used to it being sweet, makes you feel as though it's sweet. Okay, so it's got it's a very nice, it's a very nice sipping beverage. Okay, it's got a stronger flavor than you would think, coming from a honey. Especially one that was a fairly neutral wildflower honey, and it's got a nice some nice tannins to it. So it's more like a dry red wine than a dry white wine, in that it's got sort of deeper flavors than you would expect for the color of it, which reminds one of a white wine. So I'm going to make this again, and I know that my son-in-law took a liking to it when I gave him a bottle. So I will be making another batch of this, and we'll see how consistent that is. That's going to be a few more months, obviously, before that's finished. And I'll post an update when that happens. I've also set aside a couple of bottles of this to age longer, so I will be tasting them 6 months and a year out or so, just to see how the aging affects the flavor.